Good morning, Upasni sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, very good, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. You look
Sir,
quite different.
yes,
Karl
yes.
Marx. You're looking like Karl Marx now.
Good morning, outside, sir. Sir, you're muted, sir. Vilas, sir, you're muted.
Okay. Sorry, I was muted. Yeah. Anyway, so good to see you all. Upasni
Yes,
sir,
sir.
good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Sir, on this very day, let me start by wishing you Guru Purnima, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Arey,
much.
that's a really good sign.
Sir, Upasni sir was the
Good morning, sir.
first
Good morning.
architect who gave his blessing to me when we started our practice. And he was the first one to bless us with a project of a five-star hotel. Sir, thank you so much. After all these years, I still remember that very moment, that just one walk on the site and you had very nicely said, this project is yours. Thank you so much. I hope.
Gaurish, actually one more thing, ते कीर्तनकार घराणं आहे त्यांचं.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That
त्यामुळे
is the
ते
other
फार
part.
महत्वाचं आहे. आज गुरुपौर्णिमेचा दिवस पण छान आहे.
Oh, sir. That is very important,
योग
sir.
चांगला आलाय.
And
Thank,
by coincidence, Chandavarkar sir was my guru. So salutes to him on this day. Yes.
thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So we have the fifth year, very ambitious, adventurous, and very strong fifth year. So they have. I always take the opportunity to say this, but they are the ones who have won the Le Corbe NASA, and they have that
Nice.
potential to take it through, sir. So
Right.
we are very happy that you're here to address them on a very important and a sensitive topic of hotel and hospitality, sir.
Yes. It is my pleasure and it is my passion also.
I know, sir. I've seen you in action with the sketches, with the drawings, with the kind of way you express architecture conceptually and then take it right through to execution, sir. So it is important for the students to be aware of your potential as a architect, as a teacher, as a guide, as a mentor.
In
So
fact,
I would.
online experience, I don't have much to address because I don't see reactions of people when I speak. Then you don't get that enthusiasm while speaking. So
I know,
pardon me
sir.
for that.
Sir, it's a new age. We cannot do anything about it. I always
Further
keep
practice.
wondering. I know the students are not aware, but I'm sure Outsat sir will be knowing about it. I keep wondering how my father would be
Yeah,
dealing with
definitely.
this situation.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely. I can imagine that.
Sir, actually, it has taught us to be a more computer savvy.
true.
We are more used to all this now. For last,
True.
I think, couple of almost 1.5 years now,
sir.
we all are using the same media.
Okay.
There are so many Zoom meetings, webinars,
Yeah,
and all.
naturally.
Every day, there's something is going on.
Because of your eye connection.
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
used
Because
to that.
even we had a big convention on that.
Right.
That was also a good one.
Yes.
And the upcoming awards is also on the platform, right,
On
sir?
the online.
Yeah.
It's going on. Sir, you can participate always.
Okay.
31 तारखेपर्यंत आपण दिवस दिलेले आहेत. Yeah.
So, Parikshit, I would request you to start with the process. We're already about 10 minutes through the event.
Yes. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and giving your blessings to this special occasion of Guru Purnima.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think your guidance will be helpful for the students to to design the hospital kind of uh, tedious project.
Hospitality.
Hospitality. Sorry,
Hospital,
hospital.
hospitality.
Hotel. Yeah, yeah.
Hospital is when they'll get their marks. If they don't do well. Right, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so I would like to request student representative to please have a small introductory session for Upasni sir.
Hello,
Yeah,
I'm Shruti. So, architect DM Upasni, principal architect at Upasni Design Cell. He believes functional efficiency and optimization of space. He has been in practice for more than 50 years, providing professional services in architecture, planning, and interior design to a clientele spread all over India and even abroad in countries like Kenya, Thailand, Qatar, UAE, and Muscat. Mr. Upasni is one of those few architects in our country who values the significance of human values and employs a non-cosmetic approach to design. Over the years, architect Upasni has developed a specialization in the design of hospitality facilities. With an experience of designing over 200 hotels to his credit, Mr. Upasni is widely acclaimed to be one of those few architects competent in rendering highly specialized services in this area. Mr. Upasni pioneered the concept of village restaurant in India. The Orchid Hotel, designed by Mr. Upasni, is Asia's first eco-friendly hotel. For his voluminous contributions to the architecture profession in India, Mr. Upasni has been felicitated by the International Friendship Society of India, IFSI, with the prestigious Vijayashri Award in 1994. He has also been awarded the Architect of the Year Award by the Accommodation Times in 1995, and many more. It is our immense pleasure to have you with us here, sir, and we are eagerly waiting to hear your experience in the hospitality design. Thank you.
Thank you
Shruti.
so much. Thank you so much, Shruti. Thank you so much.
I would like to request Upasni sir now to start.
Yes, welcome all, and thanks for calling me to address to the students of architecture. Architecture is my passion, and teaching is another passion. So it is a pleasure always to share my thoughts, experiences with the students. And if I can kindle one student to get into the mold that I normally should be, then I will be too happy. My time will be then of some use to people. Today being a Guru Purnima day, first let me talk something about the process of learning and teaching. Jnaneshwar Maharaj, the great saint, had said, if one has to learn, he has to lend his ears in such a way that his whole being becomes his ears. And avadhana dije. So fully one has to be attentive and receptive what the guru talks. And that is where the responsibility of a disciple or a student to absorb what a guru tells. Now, guru in a normal situation is of many kinds. One who teaches the data is a teacher. One who takes them beyond data is called acharya. And one who takes them through the experience of what they are learning is called guru. So the idea is to bring them to a platform in which they become immersed in the whole process and then become equivalent to what guru is telling. And that is the peculiarity of guru shishya or teacher-student lineage in our country. Unfortunately, Macaulay differentiated the whole process. That is, we had a Gurukul system of teaching where the students used to stay with the Guru, and they used to observe the whole process while Guru is not only teaching what he talks, but he practices what he talks. And that is very important. Then it is imbibed in the student's mind that what Guru is telling, he is practicing also. He is not only a chatterbox telling something, and that is why they could really absorb that. In Macaulay's system, the whole thing changed. So for a particular fixed hours, there is an interaction between a teacher and a student, and after that, that interaction ends. Now, even during that interaction of limited hours, though physically the student is present, but mentally whether he is present or not is not known. And particularly on this online affair, it is very difficult to know whether he is physically or mentally present or not to take what we are going to impart. Jokes apart, but it's a very auspicious day. And on this auspicious day, I request all of you to lend yourself fully to what I am talking. Now, luckily, we are in the profession of architecture, and students are going to be in the profession of architecture. And the architectural profession is very peculiar. It is peculiar in a sense, it's not business, it's not occupation, it is profession, and profession means a commitment to what you do and fully get involved in what you're doing. And that full involvement takes 24 hours of your time and not fixed hours. That 24 hours of time means actually dreaming also in the night when you sleep of what you're doing. And to that extent, if one goes in, then he is able to create something. Otherwise, he produces. There's a difference in production and creation. There are two aspects of human brain. One aspect is a creative aspect, and the other aspect is a logical aspect. Those who choose architecture, I say they have chosen to choose architecture, unless they have not chosen it by their own will. If they have chosen it by their own will, then yes, they have chosen to choose architecture. And those who have chosen to choose architecture, their creative brain is more active than their logical brain. So normally out of nothing, you are creating something. That is beauty of architecture. You are visualizing something on absolutely empty space. And that empty space, you are encompassing to create experiences for people. My definition of architecture is quite different, and that is very peculiar. What you are doing is uh, creating an envelope to create an environment and to uncondition you. What you're doing is conditioning an unconditioned space to uncondition the person who is using that space is architecture, in my opinion. Because out of nothing, you are creating an envelope, and that envelope has to be created in such a way that when you get into that envelope, whatever conditions you have in your mind or stresses what you have in your mind, you are able to relieve those conditions and get part of that whole space in such a way that you become unconditioned. And that is the beauty of architecture, which in our traditional ancient Indian architecture was very peculiarly experienced. And once you go to a place like a worshipping place, like a temple, you would experience that you are a different person altogether. And that experience is a designed experience. It's not happening. Your mind gets in that sort of a mood, and that mood is created by an envelope which is created and designed by a person who visualized that it is going to be used by number of people of number of types, and they have to be brought into that frame of mind. That's the beauty of architecture. And unless that beauty of architecture, how it works, how it helps the behavior of people is not understood, then architect is not successful in his venture, what he is doing. This has to be first very well understood by a person when he starts visualizing what he is going to create on that empty space, which is unconditioned. So this is a process of design. Design is not only doodling on paper, because before using a pencil on paper, there is a lot of things that happen. Nowadays, you are not using pencil, you are using mouse and pad, but ultimately your hands you are using. Those hands when you use, you have to realize that those hands before using have to be uh, sort of empowered by your mind and your brain to think in a particular direction. That direction takes you to the creation of that space. Now we have different assignments in our life as architects when we practice, and one of these assignment of hospitality design I found very enchanting in my career. That is why most of my time I spent in designing hospitality buildings and hotel buildings. What is the peculiarity of this sort of a building? Is the that building is a living entity, and it is being used by different. Uh, PPT that building is used by different people for different purposes.
You will have to wait for a moment and
Wait for a minute, I'll start the PPT so there will be a
No,
sequence in.
tell them to disable the disabling of मी बोलू का
हाँ.
एक मिनट हेडफोन Gaurish, hi, Devyani here. Can you just requesting you to kind of allow me to start the presentation?
Sure, sure. Parikshit?
Yeah, just a moment.
Good morning, Devyani. In fact, when I wished
Hi,
you,
good morning.
I was on mute.
No, good morning. आणि गुरुपौर्णिमेच्या शुभेच्छा तुम्हाला.
Arey, you too, you too, you too.
Thank you. It's just let me know once you're done with enabling.
I think he should be on
No, it is
right
not
now.
happened as of now.
Parikshit, are you handling it or Kiran is
I
handling
have
it?
just changed the settings. I have just changed the settings.
Okay. Okay. Give me one more. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, he has set it here.
Yeah. Is the screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You'll have to go into presentation mode, Devyani.
Yeah. I'm
It's
just
right
going
now
into
in the-
full screen. Fine now? Full
Yeah.
screen? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, great. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So beauty of hospitality design in particular is it's a very complex process. Complex process is because there is a lot of aspects, there are a lot of aspects which one has to consider in designing a hotel building. And normally it is said that hotel is supposed to be home away from home, because people travel to away from their home to different places, either for the tourism purpose or for the business, or to meet people, or to visit their relatives, or to attend some ceremonies. So they have to go away from their home. And when they go away from their home, they have to be as comfortable as they are in their own house. So to create that sort of comforts is the first criteria for an architect when he designs the hotel. So that is the first aspect of it. And then then one has to understand that in olden days, these travel lodges, or we used to call them sarai or dharamshalas, they were only for the purpose of staying overnight and doing your work in the town or city wherever you are, and spend the day out and come back to sleep. So that in those times was just like a dormitory situation. Now things have changed as the time has changed, and they are a multifunctional spaces, and it has now become a public building. Now there is a difference between a public building and a private building. Now you have a dual task. One of the aspect is it has to be a home away from home, so it has to be a very private and personal situation, and simultaneously it has to become a public building where there is an interaction happening between you and people, other people. So in that sense it becomes a public building, and when you go to your own niche, it becomes a private space of your own, and that is where it becomes a private building like a home. So it's a dual thing that is happening in a hotel. Now, when we talk of public building, what are the peculiarities of a public building? Is a public building is a place where varied kind of people of varied interests come, varied likes, varied dislikes, varied expectations. All those have to be met, and unless you are able to achieve the correct combination of this, which will satisfy everybody that visits, you are not able to design a proper public building. So in that sense, it's very complex. Now, when you design a hotel, you have to also understand that it's an important place in its city, because you are visiting that city and going into that particular hotel where you're going to stay, which is your first encounter after you come to your from your destination to the by mode of transport to either station or airport or ST stand or bus stand. You are going to the hotel, which is going to give you the glimpses of the place where you are going to be there for a day, two, or maybe a week or a month. It depends on what sort of occupation, business, or reason you have gone there. So you have to understand that it is a signature of that city, what has to be created by a person who designs it. It's a designed effort. It doesn't happen automatically. It also doesn't mean that you have to stick facades on the building to replicate from the architecture of the place, because that's the wrong way to handle the whole thing. But it should suggest that it is a place, the city which you are visiting. To give an example of two film directors, I will give. Architecture has to be learned through many ways, and I always give examples of film direction and other things. That there are two film directors who had two different approaches. Both were great in their own accord. One was V. Shantaram, and one was Satyajit Ray. Both are no more there, but their approaches were different. V. Shantaram's approach was a direct approach, where he used to create impact on the minds of people by very direct method. And Satyajit Ray's approach was indirect approach, where he was very subtle in his suggestive method of what he wanted to convey. So what we are doing as architects also expressing things through our architecture, and we have to choose which way we would like to do. A direct way of replicating or giving that impression of that particular city is replicating architecture of that place in your facades and motifs and things like that. That will be a Shantaram way of doing it. And Satyajit Ray way of doing it is suggestive way, that you feel that you are in that place, though it's not directly impacted through visual aspects only. So it's not your sense perceptions have to totally, all our sense perceptions have to totally feel that you are in that place where and give that experience of that particular city. So that is the important aspect of designing a hotel. In that sense, it is a gateway to the place where it is built. Uh, in previous days, there used to be big gate like India Gate and Gateway of India and things like that, which were the gateways to the place. Now, that's a direct way. In the subtle way is you get into the place which suggests you that you are in that place. So in that sense, it has to be used while designing. It's a very, very complex process which has to happen in the mind before you produce anything on the drawing paper. And hotel design has many systems and services. It's like a complex living organism working round the clock. I would advise all the students of architecture who want to handle this sort of a project is to read Arthur Halle's book on hotel. That book is so classic, though it is not written by an architect, but it talks about in 24 hours what all things are happening in a same envelope at a given time. And it is almost a 24 hours situation which he has very nicely explained. Unless you understand how it works, how that building works, because it's a working building, it's a living organism, you would not be able to design those spaces suitable and comfortable for all those activities. So number of activities happening simultaneously at any given moment in that building. What happens in our any living organism, right from an ant to elephant, is there are systems which are designed by the Almighty or the nature, whatever you call it, which make that organism live. Those systems are what? Your respiratory system, your blood circulation system, your digestive system, your excretion system, your nervous system, and your reproductive system. All those systems are interwoven in such a way in any living organism that they very smoothly function and are controlled by a center which is called a brain. So it is like this. That whole building passively also has to work in such a way that the circulation in the building happens in such a way that very smoothly that circulation system works. Now the circulation systems are also multiple. I will come to that. Now, so it's a living organism in that sense. Now, when you design a hotel, there are points of views which have to be considered. The most important is the guest for whom we are building. Unfortunately, architects are losing direct contact with the user of the place. When we ask students to do case studies, and I used to teach, I used to tell them, your case studies should not be from net or from the book or from somebody else's uh, opinions on that particular built space. They have to be your own experience. Go there, visit there, and talk to the people who are using that space and get their reactions, what they feel about that space. Are they comfortable there? Are they very convenient? All the conveniences are available to them or not? So that way, that case study has to be done. And from that angle, if you see, the most important person for whom we are designing this is a guest. And we don't come across that guest at all. So we have to visualize as architects what would be the expectations of a guest of a place where he is going to be there for day two, or maybe if it's a resort kind of a thing, a week or a month or a longer period. And for a business, maybe a month or maybe for a year. People hire rooms for a year also. And that is why service apartments is kind of hotel which has come up now. So there are various requirements of that guest, as I was telling you in the beginning, that he has to be there, which provides him a total private space for himself with all conveniences at his hand. If he goes to a guest room, that guest room has to be designed in such a way that he has to locate everything even without lights. By putting lights is different, but even without lights, he knows that this is here, this is side table where telephone is located, where the switches are there, where he can put on the light, or he can find a way to his bathroom even in the dark. So the whole thing has to be laid out in such a way that very conveniently his movements happens and he doesn't stumble or he doesn't feel suffocated in that space, which is very private for him. And the same guest, when he gets to the restaurant, he is part of the many of different uh, countries, different cities, or from the same city, different kind of people. So he is amongst all of them. So it becomes a public space for him. And that's an interacting space. Similarly, when he is in lobby, it's an interacting space. There are people who come to meet him. He has to greet them in the lobby. Nowadays, it's very strict that guests cannot walk direct. I mean, the visiting person cannot directly walk to the guest room. Earlier, it used to happen, and people have to come. The guest of the hotel has to come down, meet his visitor in the lobby, then take him along with him to the personal space of his, or in the meeting room, or wherever in a restaurant or coffee shop, wherever they want to discuss things. So there is an interactive space which has to be comfortable to the guest also, and that has to be very smoothly designed in such a way that the mindset of the guest who is staying in the hotel changes in that space when he meets people and interacts. It doesn't become reserved, he opens up, receives things, becomes receptive. So that space has to be created in that way. Interior designers treat the spaces, remember this. An architect creates the space. That creating the space is important than just treating the space. If the space is not created properly, as much money is spent to treat the space will not be successful unless all the aspects which trigger the mind of a person are created by the architect who designs that space. The height, volume, this is the language of an architect. And the textures and the reflection, the natural light incoming. He has to use all those tools for him to create that environment which soothes the person who comes there as a guest. Now, another very important focal point for an architect to design the hotel is the staff who serves the guest. Now, they have to be equally comfortable when they serve the guest, because as much publicity you do of the place, that publicity may fail if that staff shows an expression on his face or by his body language that this is not a comfortable place. Then it's a negative publicity, and the guest may not be a repeat guest there, or he may talk to other people who are likely to go to that hotel that this is not a comfortable place. I have a personal experience when I was in Hyderabad and visited the ITDC hotel there along with my friends, and they wanted to have a drink. I don't drink, but they wanted to have a drink. So we were sitting in a bar, and in bar normally when you order drinks, you order munching, and we ordered cashew nuts. Now the waiter started laughing. He says, "You are in ITDC hotel. Do you understand that cashew nuts are not easily available here?" So that was a negative publicity created by that staff And how it happened? Because that staff was never groomed, treated, and was never comfortable in that space created for him. So he would make adverse remark. Another example I will give you. There's a gateman uh, who brings who welcomes you at the gate. Now that gateman has to welcome you with a cosmetic smile, and that cosmetic smile, why I call it cosmetic smile, is he is in a heavy robe welcoming you. Is given a turban, a long coat, and things like that, and he's standing in non-air conditioned space outside the hotel, opening door for you and welcoming and smiling for you. Now he's so uncomfortable within, and when he tries to smile at you, his smile is very artificial, and that's a negative aspect. So unless he's comfortable in doing that welcoming gesture by his body language, you are a failure as an architect to create that space for him. So it's very comfortable space which you have to create for staff, because the staff facilities, staff dining areas, their movements, they have to carry luggage to the guest room, they have to carry room service trays to with them, they have to carry the linen, so many heavy things they are carrying, and unless they are very smooth in movements, they are not comfortable. The third important person who has to be uh, given importance is the hotelier, because our client is a hotelier who is going to operate in this category. There are two people, again two kind of people. One is a hotelier who operates that place, and what he's looking at it is how the operations are going to be very smoothly done, uh, and then he has to have the maximum efficiency of the place from the people who are going to serve the guests. For him, uh, repeat visit of the guest is more important, because that's a mouth publicity. Now he is looking out from returns from the operational aspects of it. So how efficient that place is for operations, how minimum are going to be the costs of operations for him in terms of his energy bill and water bill, and so many aspects are there. So that is the aspect one has to consider from his point of view. And there is another person who invests in building the hotel, who is a businessman, who wants to have return on investments. And most of the time, we get clients, either the operators or the investors. Again, they have two different viewpoints. Investor wants to see that hotel is created in minimum investment and maximum profit generating place. Now that minimum investment restricts the visualization of an architect in many ways, because he wants to create an experience, and creating that experience definitely has cost implications, and for that cost implications the investor is always reserved. So he wants to have minimum expenditure and maximum benefit out of it. So we have to satisfy him, and we have to satisfy the operator, that category. And lastly, we have to take into account that architect who is designing. Now, most of the time, what happens is architect visualizes everything and he creates. So he's the master of the whole thing. Out of nothing, it is created. Now, his point of view and his expression. Now, for the students, you are given a plot of 150 by 75 meter, whatever that size is, with access from three sides. Now it's your skill how you handle that plot. And maybe 25 students or 40 students who are attempting this what will happen is the requirements are going to be constant. The site is sizes wise and proportion of length to breadth is constant. The directions are constant. So there are parameters which are prefixed, and still there have to be 25 or 40 solutions to the problem. Now, how this happens is the beauty of architecture, that we are, as architects, having a freedom to express ourselves and impose ourselves on that particular assignment. And there it becomes a responsibility of an architect not only to satisfy all these three aspects earlier, but to satisfy himself also. Because unless you are satisfied with your own creation, that creation is not a creation, then it's a production. So architect becomes a very important person, but it should not be so that he over imposes himself on that assignment. And classic example of a very famous architect, I will not name him, is by imposing himself on that particular assignment, which was printed, published world over as one of the good architecture, but utter failure from operator's point of view. And when second phase of development happened of the same place, they had to change the architect, and such a famous personality was removed from assignment, and another architect was appointed to handle the extension. Because the place, though created spaces, was never comfortable from operation point of view. So hotelier was not happy, operator particularly was not happy at all with the architect imposing himself too much on the whole thing. So where to restrict yourself and where to let your imagination become free for your expression is a critical decision making in the process of designing a hotel. So this is what the aspects one has to consider while designing. And designing a building, what architect has to consider is he has to design a building that satisfies all kinds of guests, which I explained. They come from varied cities, varied backgrounds, varied cultures, varied habits, varied likes and varied dislikes, and make work simpler for the staff, for them to serve the guests properly, enable the hotelier to generate revenue and maximize profits. This becomes the responsibility of an architect in the whole process. The architect has to make due consideration of hundreds of factors that influence design, including the context where the place is going to be built. That's the context. And contextual architecture is one aspect of treating it, and creating an impact on that context by making a statement is another aspect some architects like to do. Market conditions, building regulations. Unfortunately, our development control rules control the design of architecture in our country. And all development control rules all over the country are framed by engineers and not by architects. And most of the planners who are part of that development control regulations framing are planners who are basically engineers and doing their post graduation as planners. So their mindset is fixed as an engineer and not as an architect. So the freedom of expression that architect expects is never there in the development control rules framed by the authorities. Another aspect is development control rules. When they are framed with a negative thinking, that if they are not regulated so much, there is a likelihood of architects taking disadvantage and then create irregularities in the permissible areas. So this is another aspect. So they understand that architects are not having self-responsibility of themselves. In many countries, it's architects who are allowed to sign the plans and they are considered as the approved plans. So they understand what are the norms which have to be followed. But here in our country, unfortunately, it's quite a different thing. Then structural designers who are assisting us architects to design and express ourselves in our concept. So they have to complement our work. Unfortunately, it happens reverse. They contradict our works and create hurdles for us that no, this can't be built like this can't be built like this. So for that, architect has to have enough understanding of what structural systems he can, while he designs the whole environment or the built environment, he can follow and which becomes feasible to build. Then the MEP services, because this is an active building and has to be comfortable. Not only the passive aspects of solar design have to be considered, energy saving and all that. It has to be properly lit building, properly ventilated building, properly serviced building from fire point of view and all aspects. So MEP services also have to be given due importance while designing this whole thing. The architect has to design a building that functions round the clock, round the year, for many years, sustaining itself, affected by new developments that will happen in the future. He doesn't design only for today, he designs, or he is supposed to design always for tomorrow. Because always there are going to be changes in way of living, in habits of people, in the functions of the place. So he has to consider the adaptability of all these varied requirements in the built environment that he creates. And that built environment has to address all these aspects. And the most important is the sense perceptions of the people who use that. So before I show the examples of two of our projects that we have done, I have to tell something for the students' benefit, the norms that have to be followed while designing the hotel. Now in our country, there is a Tourism Development Authority of India and Tourism Development Authority of the state in which they are building. So these Tourism Development Authority have framed certain guidelines for designing the hotels for the architects as well as for the operators. These guidelines are given in the manual that they have published. So students must read these manuals and guidelines before they attempt this design. Now Tourism Development Authority of India has categorized hotel building into 5 categories, starting from 1 star to 5 star, and 5 star has one more category which is called 5 star deluxe. Now each category has different requirements and they have framed these guidelines by studying world over whatever requirements of the guests are there. Based on those requirements, they have framed this. Now, I don't know for this particular assignment whether students are supposed to do it as a 5-star hotel or a 3-star hotel or 4-star hotel, or what sort of star category. Because for a star category of 5-star, you have certain number of rooms which have to be there, certain F&B outlets which have to be there, certain facilities within the hotel which have to be there, and the minimum size of room is specified as 200 square feet of carpet area, 50 square feet or 5 square meter of bathroom area, either 4 feature or 3 feature, but 4 feature you need 5.5 square meter. And then you have vestibule where you have wardrobe, your luggage rack, your entrance way. So all that is to be added to that, which works out to around 5 to 5.5 square meter. So considering 20 plus about 11, so 31 square meter is the carpet area of that space, and that has to be excluding the balcony if you are providing a balcony. In the cities, people don't provide balconies, or if they provide, they enclose it. But in places where it's a resort kind of a thing, or where people go for luxury, there are balconies outside. Then there are again two categories of hotels which I forgot to mention. Is an introvert design and extrovert design. Depends on the context where the site is located. View to look out, then the whole approach has to be extrovert, giving maximum exposure to the guest rooms as well as to the public area, to the external views, which decide the configuration, how the whole thing has to be configured and arranged. Because in hotel design, you start with a guest room as a module, and that module depends on what star category you go in for. Also,
Sir, sir,
yes,
Sir Gaurish here, sir. Sir,
yes,
on the screen we are seeing Hotel Orchid and Wits Pune as a title. Does it
yeah.
have any image with it, sir?
It has. I will come to that. First,
Okay.
I'm explaining
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir.
I'm
I'm
explaining the
sorry.
norms which have to be considered,
Sure, sir.
and
Sure,
then I
sir.
will
Sorry.
come to that. So we are talking of a 5-star category. And in 5-star category, it is expected that you have a 24 hours F&B outlet, which is called a cafe or a coffee shop. Now, in particular, transit hotel, and you are supposed to, the students are supposed to design a transit hotel, which is just near the international airport, which is coming near the New Bombay area. Now, in this transit hotel, the beauty is the same guest room in a day is used by more number of guests, and then it's a short stay for a very limited hours, and in that limited hours, one has come by a flight, a long international flight, wants to take a domestic flight, and he's tired, there's a jet lag, he has to make himself comfortable, so he has to have a very soothing private space of his guest room and very comfortable bathroom for him to refresh himself. So that guest room becomes very important space for him. Then he checks in at odd hours, because international flights come in India at odd hours. Unfortunately, world over they are not allowed, but in India we allow them. So at odd hours when they come, either they are hungry or something, they want to take a quick snack. So the coffee shop becomes a very important space where they are refreshed again. So in transit hotel, these two aspects are also have to be taken care very carefully. And then you have to have multiple specialty restaurants. Either you have to have minimum 2 as per the 5-star norms of tourism department. One is an international cuisine, either it could be East Asian, Polynesian, or it could be continental uh, cuisine, and either of that as a foreign cuisine. And you have to have an Indian cuisine, and that's a norm which is specified by Indian Tourism Department. Where Indian specialty. Now, Indian specialty could be South Indian, North Frontier, Northeastern. There are different ways, or Punjabi or whatever. So that Indian specialty restaurant also has to be there. And the coffee shop has to serve all these kinds of foods in the coffee shop. So normally coffee shop kitchen, which runs 24 hours, has to have a facility to cook all that type of food. Then there is a banquet space. That banquet space, and most of the cities now, the hotels have feasibility by their banqueting. And banquet has become a major revenue earning for hotelier and investor. So the banquet space becomes a very important and depends from city to city the size of banqueting space which is required. And that decides so many aspects which I'll come to, which requires a large uh, kitchen, bulk cooking kitchen. This bulk cooking kitchen has to be centralized kitchen, which serves the kitchens of coffee shop as well as the specialty restaurants kitchens. So locating the kitchen in the hotel becomes a very important aspect when you design a hotel building. Now, apart from that, there has to be convenience shopping within the hotel. If you have forgotten something, your essentials, you should be able to buy them. Then they specify a bookshop or antique or art shops and all that. This is for 5-star. For 4-star, the size of the room is reduced from 20 square meter to 15 square meter. The bathroom size is reduced to 4 square meter. Accordingly, the total room space reduces to maybe less than about 27, 28 square meter. Carpet area gross. Then for 3-star, it further reduces to 135 square feet or about 13 square meter. And the bathroom requires 3.5 square meter. Accordingly, the room size reduces. And accordingly, then the entire built-up area also reduces. And 1 and 2-star hotel are just basic facilities. In 3-star, there could be 1 specialty restaurant and 1 coffee shop. In 4-star, there could be coffee shop compulsory, 1 specialty restaurant, and of course, in all star category hotels, because they are supposed to serve the international guests, there has to be a permit room. And in our country, permit room cannot be part of restaurant because we have a licensing policy by governments. Local governments are also having controls on those situations. There are dry days and other days where the bar has to be closed. Then there are fixed hours of bar operating. So bar has to be created a separate space. Either it is in lobby or specifically located somewhere. So these are the F&B outlets, including banquet, for which a proper kitchen has to be there, which serves all this. Now the hotel guest first enters the lobby, which creates a great impact on his mind, and that's the first impression on the guest's mind, where he has come and what sort of space, what sort of services he's going to get, what sort of comforts he's going to get. So when you design a lobby, all those aspects have to be considered. Now lobby also need not be more than required size, because oversized lobby is misused and abused, and people without any business come and waste time there. And for operator and investor, that cost of generating that space, including interiors and including air conditioning and lighting that space, becomes high, and operating that space also becomes high. So he would like to have minimum size, and whereas an architect who has to create an impact would like to have a large space, creating that impact on the mind of the guest. So it's a proper balance has to be struck between these two. Another aspect one has to consider is the services that have to be interwoven in this. Now the building has to be air conditioned if it is in the city, and if it is a resort place, you can do away with air conditioning. But in cities, yes, you have to have air conditioning. Now, air conditioning also needs proper space allocation in the ceilings for the ducts to move, then for the chilled pipes to move, and return pipes to move, and to serve the air handling units or the fan coil units. And all those aspects have to be taken into account while designing the heights of the building. Here, unfortunately, near the airport, you are restricted to the height of 30 meter. In 30 meter, you have to accommodate everything. So to maximize that, one would like to reduce the heights of the floors. Now, when you reduce the height of the floor, you cannot comfortably accommodate these services. Then firefighting becomes a very important service. And the fire egress systems. You have to, in fire egress systems, you have to locate your fire escape staircases at a distance designated by operators as well as our fire department. Two staircases cannot be away from each other beyond 30 meters. And from the door of the guest room to the staircase, the distance cannot be more than 22.5 meters. These are the norms various international operators have set. Plus, our fire department has set the size of the staircases, the width of the staircases, all that is specified. One has to consider all those aspects. And again, in that height beyond 24 meters, you have to create a space for fire refuge area. So that also has to be considered. And then the public areas have to have larger heights because that give better feeling, space feeling for the people, and in which you have to accommodate larger ducts for return air, fresh air, chilled water pipes, firefighting pipes, because you have to have sprinkler systems. Every 10 meter you have to have sprinkler. Every 3 meter you have to have sprinkler, which has to take care of 10 square meter of area. Then for smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, all those aspects have to be considered. So these are the services and they have to be interwoven properly because they are crisscrossing at many locations, and there has to be adequate space and adequate vertical shafts provided for all those services, because normally the plant rooms are located in the subfloors, and from there everything has to rise to the higher floors and serve. Then you have to satisfy the firefighting norms for water requirement. Water tanks sizes have to be done. Then your water tank has to be 24 hours uh, fully filled, and overflow of this fire tank is then going to the domestic tank. Then it has to be treated because you get a source of water, maybe restricted water supply, so you have to have groundwater which has to be treated, softened. All those aspects are there. Then there is a hot water supply. 24 hours hot water has to be there in the guest room and in the kitchen. So this 24 hours hot water supply has a supply loop and a return loop. The return loop happens at the top floor, and the supply loop happens at the service floor. And the whole water system has to be charged 24 hours. So also fire sprinkler system has to be charged 24 hours. So overhead tanks, sizes of them, underground tanks, all that norms are specified by fire people, and the services consultants also specify, our DC rules also specify the sizes of tanks. So adequate spaces for the services housing their main plants and housing their local equipments have to be taken into account while designing the heights of the building and the planning sizes of the building also. So this is another. And the most important aspect again is the circulations within the building. That circulations is, one is the guest circulation, which is the most important thing. He comes in a vehicle, or he public vehicle or a private vehicle or a taxi, which drops him at the main gate of the hotel, and from where his car is taken by chauffeur or valet to the parking area. The parking area either could be subfloor, or height is not permissible, so it has to be in subfloor. Neither you have enough space to have a parking, open air parking. So one has to consider how that movement of guest circulation, vehicular movement happens. Then there is another movement of staff circulation. Their vehicles come by a different direction and they have to go to the parking also. Also, the supplies that come to the place, they have supply vehicles which are coming. And then there is a lot of garbage that comes out. If there is no central laundry within the hotel, and most of the hoteliers now prefer not this. Yes, I have not understood you. Hello. Hello.
Sir, no problem, sir. The recording was stopped, sir.
Okay. Okay.
The announcement was the recording is started again, sir.
Okay. Okay. So all that has to be taken into account. And the staff facilities, staff has to come down. He has to check in. There has to be security, time office. Then he has to go to the change rooms. And there are 3 shifts which the hotel works in. So the day shift, night shift, and then overlapping shift. All that has to be taken into account. There are separate staff facilities for general staff and executive staff for ladies and for gents. All that has to be provided. Then the night staff has to have retiring rooms, and so staff recreation rooms, staff dining facilities. All that has to be planned, and this interaction between staff and the guest has to be designed in such a way that they don't crisscross and they interact with each other only when it is required, like on the reception or in the restaurant. Otherwise, they are not uh, going to cross the guest movement. So this circulation has to be properly planned in such a way that they don't collide with each other. Otherwise, a guest is going, a person is coming with a service tray and he collides, and then there is a spilling out. The guest clothes are getting spoiled, then he becomes irritated. So these are things which are happening in the hotel. So one has to take care while planning all these aspects. Then now we are talking of sustainable architecture. Now, sustainable architecture is harnessing all the natural resources. So you have to treat the sewage treatment plant has to be created. From that, you have to take the water which is treated for air conditioning makeup, because of huge requirement of air conditioning makeup, and which has to be properly treated that the water doesn't remain in the water. And the same water is used many times for flushing also, because we have water conservation is one of the important aspect in your platinum rating or golden rating, green certification of the hotel. These have become now norms which have to be followed, and our DC rules also specifying all this. So that also aspects have to be taken into consideration while designing the whole space, and enough spaces have to be allotted for all these things, and how much natural light you can ingress inside, so that your electricity bill, energy bill is reduced substantially, and how much you reduce on the heat gain in the building. So the configuration of the building, orientation of the building has to be considered in such a way that the impact of solar heat is minimized. So your heat load calculations, when they are done by your HVAC consultant, you are not over spending on cooling the space or making it comfortable. And these things change from place to place. If you are designing a hotel in Delhi, where summer temperatures are different and winter temperatures are different. A place like Bombay doesn't change much, but depends on where you are going to design it. So all those requirements have to be taken into account. So there's a continuous interaction between services consultant and an architect while designing all this. Enough space, enough heights, enough room for all this is required to be given. Then the structural designer, because when you go vertically, you are bound to load your guest room tower on the top of public areas, and guest room tower has certain requirement of column locations, and these column locations collide in your public space if you take them directly down. Also, they collide in your parking zone, also in the subfloor. So you have to design a different column grid in the lower floors and a different column grid on the upper floor. So one has to simultaneously visualize all levels, what is happening at each level. If you configure the guest room block in this way, how their columns are going to come down, because these columns which are there up have to be floated in service floor, or where the floating columns start. There is a structural beam which takes care, and which is quite a heavy beam. And in our Oberoi, when I was the job captain in Oberoi, Mumbai, our size of that structural beam, which was taking the load of all 28 floors above, was 2.5 meters deep and 1.2 meter wide. That size of structural beam was there, which was as good as a service floor height situation. Now that beam you cannot puncture. So your services, when they move out from that service floor, you have to consider enough spaces for them to get out to the upper floors and get down to the lower floors. All those aspects have to be considered, and interaction with the structural consultant is required to be done. Now, I had very great experience while designing two hotel projects, which I'm going to show now, Orchid and Wits, Pune. Do you have time, or you have to cut short? Gaurish?
No, sir, we have time. No issue.
Yeah. So I will now start my. This is a hotel building which we designed in Pune, Balewadi, where it's a very peculiar building, which was supposed to be. This is a government leased plot in a sports complex, and Youth Commonwealth Games were to be held in this Pune Sports Complex, Balewadi Sports Complex, Chhatrapati Shivaji Sports Complex it is called, where at a given time there were number of guests were supposed to visit the place and stay there for 15 days, because the whole event was supposed to be for 15 days, and they did not have enough accommodation in the city and within the complex also to house those guests. So that is why part of the land, which is about 6.5 acres of land, was leased out on a BOT basis, tendered, and our client submitted a tender, and that tender was design and build and operate also. So for 60 years, this place is leased out, and for those 50 days, it has to act as a accommodation for the people who come for the sports activity, and rest of the time it can be used as a star category hotel to be rented out to outside guests. Every 5 years, again it has to be handed over to the sports authority for their guests, because every 5 years there are going to be events there. So we had to design this place for 1,200 guests. So our total number of room bays in this hotel were 400, and each total room bays were 420 out of, and the 400 keys, because the topmost floor were suites for the VIP guests which were supposed to come and attend those ceremonial functions, and the rest of the rooms were supposed to accommodate 3 guests in a room. So the size of the room was larger than normal guest room requirement, which for a 5-star category hotel we do. Now this hotel has 2 wings, as you can see here, and 2 wings are flanking a public place. It's a 2L forming a square with 2 entrances, because there are certain guests which are lower category and certain guests are higher category. So one wing was supposed to be a 5-star wing, the other wing is supposed to be a 4-star wing. Though the size of the room did not change much, but the facilities within the block changed. Very interestingly designed, taking into consideration all passive solar aspects in designing, in orientation, and in controlling the heat gain of the hotel. This whole building, right from starting to finish, including the design process, of total 6 lakh square feet in 10 floors, we have completed in 15 months. And my office, including my son Pranav, was stationed on site for 24 hours. And we were developing drawings while it was being constructed. It is a record of this kind of volume and this kind of design, where we enjoyed all the freedom, because there was no time for our client to apply his mind. He wanted to just get it finished. So we took all freedom in designing this. And as you can see, there are terraces which are happening. Can I show it by a cursor? These are pocket terraces which are happening at every floor, every 2 floors, and one wing comes out as a cantilever and one wing recedes on the other side. So, and you have a central space where the whole thing is overlooking, because these are all doubly loaded corridors. So outside rooms are looking out the sports complex area, and this wing looks out at the city side. And the inner rooms are overlooking a tower which is greened, and there is a rooftop restaurant which is supposed to be there on the top of the space here. And it's a glass bottom thing which people are going to see the activity below. There is a swimming pool located below. So that's the experience that we create, because every hotel is a hotel, guest room is a guest room. What is new in your hotel, why guests should come to your hotel, is what different experience you are going to give, and there where the architect plays the important role. So going to the next slide. This is from the other angle, and this whole space is a coffee shop of all that height, enclosed by glass. These are the guest floors, and the lower 2 floors are the public area floors. Another view, large porches on both sides, enough for 2-3 cars at a time, enough space for them. At a time, lot of guests are going to come here. Now, this was the site which we were given, and we can see all that stadia there, one here, and all that. And there is a major Pune Bangalore road going here. And we have taken entrance. 2 entrances are there. One is from the front road and one is from the side. Front road, and there is a service road there. Now this corner, what we were allotted, this is the configuration of the building. As you can see, there are 2 L's with a water body in center. In that 8-meter wide water moat, there is a banquet hall which is located, which is connected from both the lobbies, and it has a separate kitchen which is connected from lower ground level. There is a service entry which is coming from, coming from top there. This is a service courtyard. where all the uh, electrical plant room and everything is located here. The service entry is here, security, time office, everything is here. And then from here, you go down to the lower floors for the service stores, staff facilities and everything. And then this is the entry for the staff. This is the main kitchen which serves here. The service lifts are located here. Service lifts are located here and here. And again, there is a kitchen here. And this is that coffee shop, 24-hour coffee shop here. And there is another 24-hour coffee shop here for the 4-star category. This is a 5-star category, this is a 4-star category. Then we have an outdoor dining space here also. In the evening, it can be used. We have main reception happening here and happening here. And the guest lifts are here. They are glass lifts here and here, which are overlooking all this, what is happening inside. This is in detail what you see. These are guest lifts for the 4-star. These are guest lifts for the 5-star. These 3 service lifts for 4-star. Here there are service lifts 2 places, here, here, and here, and here. There are more number of service lifts here. Then we have fire exit staircases here, 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 and here. Similarly, here, this is service cum fire escape, and here. So, and we have staff public toilets for the banquet on this side, and this is the big banquet hall. This is that water body which surrounds it, and we have access from here and here, and there is a big open air banqueting here. So we have a connection from this place to that place. This kitchen serves the open air banqueting here. This is the kitchen actually, and this is the backup area for the kitchen. And this kitchen serves the 24-hour coffee shop here. And this kitchen here serves the 24-hour coffee shop kitchen here. And this is the lift lobby. Public toilets are here, and public toilets are here for the lobby. And when we go to the next level, this is the service floor on the top. That gray area which you show here, which is shown here. And the banquet is located on the top of the swimming pool is located on the top of banquet hall, and we have access from this guest level to the swimming pool. From here, one goes down. There is a health club located on the top of pre-function of the banquet, and there is a large green space outside here for both the areas. The top of the porch also has become green. Top of the porch also becomes green. Then going to the next floor, then there is a series of guest floors. There are 10 guest floors and 40 guest rooms at each level, which are served by these guest lifts, these guest lifts, these service lifts, and these service lifts. And this is that tower which you saw in that 3-dimensional view, which rises to 10-floor height, which is greened on the top, on the side by planters. And the top of this is a glass roof, which becomes a floor or a rooftop restaurant. So all our public areas are located on the lobby level around this. There is a first floor also. We have certain public areas, meeting rooms on the top of this. Then there are specialty restaurants on the top of public areas, top lobby here. And in thereafter there is a service floor, and then these are the guest rooms, different guest rooms. And as you can see, there are receding guest floors of one wing, and there are cantilevering guest floors of the other aspect. These are doubly loaded corridor which are 3 meter wide, and we have provided natural light through the skylight to these corridors as well as from the ends of it. So in the section that can be explained. See, these are the pockets in the corridor which are allowing the natural light from the top to percolate down and give natural light. Otherwise, the W corridor are normally very dingy and very pessimistic in the whole ambience. Another guest floor. Number of guest rooms remains same, only the configuration keeps on changing. Fifth guest floor, sixth, seventh. Now this is a section which is very interesting section. What I told you was there is a subfloor where all stores, staff facilities and plant rooms are there. Then this is a lobby level, and then there is a top which is restaurant level. On the top is this service floor come traverse girder floor, and then there are 3 and 7 guest floors on the top. So there are 3 plus 7, 10 total number of floors. And then this is the swimming pool, which is enclosed from the side with a lot of planters on the whole thing, and a rooftop restaurant here. There are also private swimming pools on the top of both the wings also. Then we go to the next. This is our signature hotel, one of its kind, which was supposed to be telecast as a mega structure in the Natural Geography. And there was an existing Centaur hotel which was round. So the round form got inherited and we built around it. We remodified the whole thing. Our assignment was to create a new ambience and create a signature hotel for the Sahara group of hotels. This is the internal ambience. There's a large 50,000 square feet of space in which 30,000 square feet of water body, all natural trees inside. It's an oasis within the city, and like a UFO landed in city with an oasis inside. And all public areas are located around this space. Majority of guest floors overlook all this, all 5 guest floors, and 6th floor corridor is facing this space, and the guest floor is facing out, but it has a glass roof. These are 2 bank entrances from airport side. Swimming pool is on this side, and this is that introvert space which is created here. And then there is a main lobby here, main drop off here. Then you go to the lobby, there's a sit out, and there is a coffee shop below, tea lounge here. And when you go down, there are all F&B outlets. 2 large banquet halls flanking, their entrance is at a different level, lobby entrance is at a higher level. This is a main kitchen which serves the banquets, which serves all F&B outlets, and which are overlooking all this space. There's a health club here, which is overlooking the pool. And then the guest room starts. Up to 3rd floor, all guest rooms are inside, and 4th floor onwards, we have made it a doubly loaded corridor. Because the height was not allowed, we had to consume the FSI. So we added rooms outside. And on the top floor, is of 3 guest rooms like this. And the top floor has a glass roof rooms, which are sky rooms, what we call. And then there are, and there are 2 F&B outlets there on the top also. One here, and the guest rooms are flanked here. These are subfloors where the staff facilities, stores, parking, 800 car parking spaces there. And we have gone 12 meters down the ground. All the major plant room area is here. This is typical section. Two sections are there. One is through the front wing and one is through the hotel wing. This is the banquet and business wing. So this is the, thank you. I am done.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Students, do you have any question?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
So first of all, I would like to wish you a happy Guru,
Purnima.
happy Guru Purnima, and to all the faculty. Sorry. I have many questions. Starting with the book that you recommended, it's Arthur Hillis, right?
Arthur Hillis, yes.
Like AURTH or
Correct,
HEWIS.
correct.
So in the Orchid Hotel project in Pune, I can see that it was a steel structure because I think there was a time constraint.
It was a complex structure. First 3 floors are RCC, and upper 3 floors where the cantilevers start. It's a steel structure encased in concrete and composite with a slab in RCC, brick slabs, and walls in C4X.
Okay, so this was done to like increase the speed of the construction.
Yeah.
Time. So, like, did you find any?
And those three floors are a girder actually. It's a structural girder. It's a very complex structural design.
So my question is like, if there is no time constraint, so would you still recommend steel structure in that scenario as well? Like, did you find any?
It gives freedom to certain extent, definitely, because creating large spans is possible in steel structure than concrete structure. Concrete structure, unless you go for pre-stressed beams and pre-stressed concrete scenario of post tension, you cannot create large spans because the beam depths become very large. In steel, it is. Then still you have castellated girders through which you can pass on your services for public areas. So that's an advantage of steel structure. But it is costly because steel structure has to be fire treated, and fire treatment is equally costly unless you encase that steel structure in concrete. And when you encase, again the sizes of the unit becomes larger. Yes.
So in Sahara Star Hotel, I seen there are some open spaces, like you showed the swimming pool and everything. Like how exactly was soundproofing handled in the open space?
We have covered the whole open space by the top roof, which is 80-meter diameter dome without columns, and that dome is totally covered. So why we did that, earlier Centaur it was open to sky, but because the sound of takeoff of the flights was disturbing, so we wanted to cut off that sound totally. And of course the glass enclosure which is there on the skin is a 3-layered glass, doubly curved. So we have spent 200 crores only on the glass enclosure of that building, so which takes the whole building totally soundproof.
And does it create like a greenhouse effect under it, or is it a double glazed unit?
Yeah, it does. It reduces heat gain substantially with the specified glasses. Sand-proofing glasses and guardian glasses were used, where the heat gain is controlled and shading coefficient is used. Big exercise. Each project is a PhD project. So much research goes in doing that project. Architecture is not only imagining, architecture is making that imagination work. So a lot of technicalities have to be absorbed, applied. Of course, you take help of experts in this, but you have to have sufficient understanding. But experts can misguide you also. So you have to have understanding of your own self in the whole thing. Yes.
So we actually gone through multiple case studies earlier in the lectures, and we found many open spaces like rooftop terrace, rooftop gardens, or swimming pools and recreation spaces. Like, would you recommend these type of open spaces in such close proximity to airports?
Such proximity, close proximity to airport, one has to take care, understand, and the guest also has to understand that there is going to be a sound disturbance to the guest. But in the evening, those spaces are really very enchanting because takeoff and landing of flights is an enchanting view to look at.
Okay,
So
sir.
ambience can be created. On Orchid Mumbai, I have created a rooftop swimming pool, poolside banqueting, poolside restaurant, and it's very popular place. And people don't mind that sound of aircraft landing and takeoff.
Okay, sir. So also Sahara Star Hotel is, as you talked about, is an introverted design, right?
Yes.
Or is it an extroverted design? Because I could see the lobby spaces in the inner circle and the rooms around it.
It's a total introvert space initially, but after third floor, the rooms are facing outside because after third floor you see the runways, you see the takeoff and landing of the aircrafts and the highway movement on the highway side rooms. In the evening, those are very interesting things to look at. So up to third floor, there is nothing to look at. So it becomes an introvert space. Above that, it is both introvert, extrovert.
Understood, sir. Okay, thank you so much, sir. That's the questions I have.
Welcome. So shall we call it a day now?
Yes, sir. I think anybody has any other question, guys?
Now, I have a question to faculty members and to the students. Was this time worth something to them? What I talked did make sense or not?
Yes, definitely.
It was a fantastic presentation, very articulated, right kind of idea students must have got. How complex a city has also been worked efficiently with the design elements without sacrificing any design elements. A great presentation, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay.
you, sir. Thank you very much.
Sir,
It was
Most
really
welcome.
a very good presentation.
Thank you
Sir,
so
this
much.
is-
Welcome.
We
Sir,
have
Gaurish
also
here, sir.
learned a lot.
हा, बोला. Yeah.
गुरुकडनं शिकायला मिळालं ते आज आम्हाला चांगल्या दिवशी चांगलं शिकायला मिळालं.
Thank you. Thank you. One
Sir,
learns
Gaurish
out
here,
of
sir.
experience and imparts. Yes, bro.
Yes.
Sir, as usual, this is the second time I'm hearing you, and as usual, sir, you have done a fantastic job of layering it, the whole process
Yes.
from the
Yeah.
aspect of being aware and being keen on hearing what you're saying, to
Yes.
the fact that it's not only about the design, but it's also articulating the spaces for the comfort right from the guest to the doorman and perhaps the
Yes.
security person.
Yes.
Many times as architects, we look at only the built form and put our ego on that.
Yes.
But it's important to also look at the emotional quotient. So I'm sure this entire process of starting from the spirituality right up to the technical aspect and how it is embodied in these two projects, I'm sure it is an eye opener for the students. However, the scale of the project that they are handling may not be as big as what you have shown, but I'm
is
sure
not-
the spirit of
Yeah.
it is to be applied nevertheless at all points of time, also looking at the bylaws.
No,
Actually, it is of the similar size.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. The
it is
little.
about 2.5 lakh square feet is what they are going to build.
Okay. Okay. And my only request to the students.
15,000 square meter of plot, no?
With 2.5 FSI, I think, or
Yeah.
2 FSI, I don't know what. 1.5 FSI, sorry, 1.5.
1.5 FSI.
Yes.
So my
And height
only-
restriction. So it's a complex way to handle it.
yes.
Yeah, height is 30 meter.
Yeah, yeah.
That is
So
what
height
we
restriction.
recommend.
So my only request to the students would be perhaps to go back to this talk one more time and listen to it, because perhaps the first time it would have been a little overwhelming for you. But please go back to the recording, listen to it, and please make your questionnaire ready again. If you want, we can request Upasni sir to come back and
Anytime, anytime. It is my pleasure.
look at and
Always to
engage
interact.
the students, sir.
Always, I will
So-
play. It is my pleasure. Secondly, my request is if you can send me this recorded version for my
Sure, sir.
record also.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. It would be a pleasure to do that, sir.
And if you can upload it on YouTube, it will be helpful to many students also.
So we do that, sir. Most of our talks are going on the YouTube. So we shall do that, sir. We shall do that, sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
sir.
I have a doubt, sir.
Yes.
Regarding the Pune project, you
Ah.
said that the corridors were doubly loaded,
Yes.
and you mentioned about them being dingy. So how did you like? I
They
saw
are
in the
not
second-
dingy. They are not dingy. That is what I said. They are 3 meter wide with cutouts on either side, letting the natural light from the top to go throughout. In the daytime and in the
Why
evening,
they-
those niches are lit. So you get enough indirect light. So the width, the space, the natural light does not make them dingy.
So
And
how wide were those cutouts?
I didn't
The
get you.
cutouts that were there for the light penetration, how wide were those?
Those were 600 mm.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. What you need actually is 2 meter wide corridor. We have provided 3 meter wide corridor. So our actual width of corridor remained 1.8, but wherever there are entrances to the guest room, they become 3 meter, because when you are near the guest room, you have luggage in your hand. So you're waiting for the door to be opened. So you have to keep the luggage in hand, then open the door. So you need space. While you are standing there, the other guest has to pass. So near the entrance, the width is more, and otherwise between the cutouts, the width is 1.8 meter.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So we exit now.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
सांगतील पाहिजे. I don't know how to exit.
Kiran? Can
Yes,
you
sir.
shut the? Can
I
you
will
shut the
switch it
meeting?
off for everyone. Yes, I will do it for
Yes,
everyone.
please do that. Please do that.